Today's episode of In the Trenches is brought to you by System 12 Guitar Method. Sign up today at ryanroxie.com.
In the Trenches with Ryan Roxie.
Hello, and welcome to another live stream episode of In the Trenches. I am your host, Ryan Roxie. And guess what, folks? We are back in the studio. As you can see, we are back not to normalcy, to complete insanity. That's what I'm going to say, because today's show is going to be friggin' insane. I'm excited about it. I really am. We just got back from tour. We were on tour with Alice Cooper and Ace Frehley. We've been in the studio. The Alice Cooper band has been in the studio since then. So there's so much to talk about on that front. But I want to talk about the podcast, because there's one thing I realized these last couple months doing the podcast remote. One is that we have a kick-ass producer in Vic Chalfant, because we were able to do so many of these shows live stream from different hotel rooms. Another thing I realized is that hotel internet can suck. And now I feel good that we're back on the old Wi-Fi. And another thing I realized is that I friggin' love you guys. I really feel like we are a family here. And if you are not seeing me as a family and you're listening to us on an audio broadcast, I thank you so much anyway. But I want you to be in the live chat. I want you to go to Ryan Roxie Official right now. This is your first time watching us. Hit that subscribe button that Vic is going to put up. He put it up already, but he'll put it up again. There it is. Hit that subscribe button. Become part of the In the Trenches family, because, folks, what a show today. What a show. I feel like Mr. Rogers when he walked in, opened that door, and he walked into his little winter wonderland, because that's where I walked into. I'm freaking back in the winter wonderland. A week ago, I was in sunny weather playing golf with Alice Cooper, and now we're back to, like, it gets dark at 3:00 in the afternoon here. I'm not shitting you, folks. Where I live in the North Pole, but Santa Claus is making your gifts, and whether you're naughty or nice, speaking of someone that's been very naughty or very nice, depending on how you view him, I want to bring our producer out, because there's a couple things I want to do. Vic, come on out, say hello, because it's been a little while since we did this show. What's happening, Vic?
Hey.
There he is. You get to see a little bit of Vic's world, and of course Stanley is in the back. Yeah. Your internet's messing up, dude. I can't believe you have Michael DeBar internet at home. There's Stanley. Hey, man. How you been?
Busy.
I know you've been busy. I know you've been stressed. But guess what? I'm shaved. That's a little bit of a difference from the last couple episodes, right?
I heard about the deal.
I'm sure you're going to hear a lot more about the deal coming up.
Bianca's happy now.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, hey, on the air, face to face, thank you very much for hanging in there during the whole tour and doing a kick-ass job of producing the podcast. A lot of people did not go unnoticed. A lot of people realized what a hard feat it is to do week after week. So thank you very much, Vic. Just want to say
thank you. I enjoyed doing it. It was good.
Now get off the screen.
All right.
Get off the screen now. Of course, we'll bring you back. But now it's time to bring on our guest. I know it's been a little bit of an intro, folks. It's been a little bit of an intro, but we're building it up. We've been building it up all week. What can I say about this guy? We are brothers from another era. We are both drank the Kool-Aid of rock and roll from different times, but we actually both lived a very parallel life. And those lives and those lifelines have crossed and collateralized and all that kind of stuff over the years. I want to talk about New York City today. I want to talk about our histories in music today. But mostly of all, I just want you to experience everything that is about our guest. So without further ado, one of the most exciting personalities that I've run across in any sort of dark alleyway or debauchery tour bus scenario. I am talking about the one, and I know a lot of people say the one, the only, but there is truly only one, the only. Would you welcome In the Trenches, Jesse Camp. Hello, Jesse.
Hey, hey there, Ryan. It's me, Bad Bear, Leroy Brown. Jesse is on his way out, as you know. He's quite old, and the hair and makeup on that guy, it's like he's the Nutty Professor. It takes forever. So I wanted to come out and say hi to you. I wanted to let you know how much of a fan I am of In the Trenches. I mean,
Thank you very much.
Honestly, Ryan, I'm going to tell you something, and this is not Jesse doesn't. Well, I'll put it to you this way. There are a lot of interviewers out there that pretend they want to interview the person, but they really want to talk about themselves. And you are of a different caliber of interviewer. You are like a Howard Stern. You have a genius for knowing when to ask, when to lead, but when to lay back. And quite honestly, over the last season of In the Trenches, I have seen you blossom into true excellence as an interviewer. Forget the fact that you're a phenomenal, insane guitar player. I mean, and listen, again, I've been following you, not to be stalker-like, but since the Electric Angels, and then, of course, Slash's Snake Pit. But then you got to go back to Alice, and then I'm a big fan of Dad's Porno Mag. I love everything that you have done. But wait a minute, Jesse's almost. Jesse is ready.
Hold on, Leroy. I want to talk to you one quick second more because you've given me a lot of accolades, and it is Leroy Brown, right? You're bad Leroy Brown, I believe that is.
Bad Bear Leroy Brown.
I got it.
And the bad boy Leroy Brown. He's a bunch of trouble. He's the meanest. He's meaner than a junkyard dog.
But you are a junkyard dog, aren't you? I mean, doesn't that defeat the purpose? You can't be meaner than what you are.
I'm a bear. I'm not a dog. See.
Oh,
that's the confusion.
You have some sort of defect. Then I'm sorry, Leroy. I didn't mean to shame you or body shame.
Wait a minute. Actually, I'm looking at myself on the screen. I think I actually am a dog. You're right.
You should look down and check, or just lick and check. I mean, you might want to lick.
Full on dog. You were right. I have a dog's private parts.
I lick and check a lot.
Yeah. There's definitely not a bear situation here. Full on dog, but not a neutered dog. So I'm having a good time.
I like it. Well, Leroy, thank you for making
sex dog as well. I don't know. I kind of have a muscle bear look. I guess even though I'm a dog. Enough said.
You're a grizzly dog. I know it's a very common mistake that people make. It's a grizzly dog. I know that we've spent the latter half of almost 10 minutes talking about either myself, which you just told me that I don't do so much on the podcast, but thank you very much for doing that and bringing up all those things. But it is time for us to bring up our very special guest of today's. And I don't know what capacity you work with Jesse in. Are you his agent, his makeup artist? What are you?
Ryan, real quick, Jesse is ready, but we have an even bigger guest here, quite honestly, than Jesse. This is a bigger get than Jesse Camp.
Wait a second.
Are you familiar with Alvin and the Chipmunks?
Of course we are. We all are familiar. Is there another puppet show? If I told him once, I told him 1,000 times, it's Jesse Camp and then puppet show. But wait a second. Who is that Alvin?
Hi, it's me, Alvin.
And
it's
Theodore?
Me, Theodore. We wanted to say hi. We love Ryan Roxie a lot. He's the best podcaster on the block. I still want a hula hoop. We love you, Ryan. Yay!
Thank you. I think Theodore needs some Propecia or some sort of hair replacement in the back because he needs some sort of therapy like that. But how's it going, guys? Now, how do you know? Have you been up all night with Jesse Camp pulling one of those infamous all-nighters as they do with the Chipmunks and Jesse?
Absolutely. Well, Ryan, the reason we're here is because Jesse is right in the middle of cutting a double album, and he has all kinds of special guests on this thing. So we were just kind of doing some background vocals on some of the tracks here. And as you can see, we're at Ultrasound Studio in downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's definitely not a green screen. I can see that there's actually living. And in fact, earlier, that soundboard was talking to us. It had a female voice. So it's everything's animated and everything is
Reba
puppetry.
McEntire is here. She's also laying down vocals.
Oh, that's not a talking soundboard. That's actually an artist that's on your double album or that's on Jesse's double album.
Reba McEntire. Hey, Ron, it's me, Reba McIntyre.
Wait, that's not Reba.
And
That's
some
you,
of the
Alvin.
Brooks and Dunn guys are here too. Keeks Brooks is here, but it's me, Reba.
All right. I think that's either Leroy throwing his voice into you, or I think it's Jesse Camp channeling his energy into you, Theodore.
Jesse's here. Yay!
Yeah, there he goes. Jesse Camp, folks. Will you please welcome the talking soundboard and, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, maybe even more puppets, Jesse Camp. Hello, Jesse.
Yeah.
There he is.
All right. Woo.
This is a show. This is turned. Okay, for those of you that are listening
we
to
are
us
here, and I just wanted to give a shout out to one of your sponsors, Armstrong Once and Done. Guys, take it from Ryan and I. If you want your laundry done once and not 5 times, go with this, Once and Done. Think of it as someone you picked up that you just want to hit once sexually and then quit it. That's what this is, but for laundry. Again, Once and Done. It's the only laundry detergent Ryan, Roxie, and I use.
Jesse, are you selling Amway products now? Is that what it's become? Has what's been happening, man?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, I didn't, we're making a really ambitious album here. And so, I don't want to like crowdsource it. Again, the people at Once and Done have been really cool. They like gave us a $3 million budget. I think that they have other businesses on the side.
It must be an amazing feeling to be part of the Once and Done family.
Yo, but Ryan, it is me. Hold on. Okay.
There you are, Jesse. Underneath all that, you know what? I used to hear this a lot in the late 80s. I say we're brothers from another era, but and again, I'm going to drop some names, folks. If you don't like it, make sure you tell a friend to subscribe to take your place. But I'm going to drop a name in the term of someone that we both look up to. Well, we're kind of you definitely look down to him because you're so friggin' tall. But I'm talking about Andy McCoy, and he used to be accused, and he would say, "I'm always accused of dressing like a Christmas tree." So I think we just took his lead, and I think today you, my friend, are dressed a little bit Christmas tree-esque. So happy holidays, Jess.
Thank you. Happy holidays, Ryan. And first off, it's oh my God, Andy McCoy. That's why we're birds of a feather, because you and I. First off, though, and I promise I will not make today like a never-ending bromance. But the minute I ever saw you, I was like, yeah, Ryan, Ryan rules. And you, you're an amazing guy, and you could not have a more kick-ass vibe. And whatever that Andy McCoy, Hanoi, New York Dolls essence is, I mean, that's just your DNA. And so,
It's in both of our DNAs. And that's the thing. We talk about this bromance because it goes both ways, my friend Jesse. And it always goes back to get forward. So that's how we start every in the trenches. Vic, what do you say? So there you go. Let's get back to get forward, my friend. We know each other way back from we toured together in
this is true.
The 1900s. What was it?
It was just a smidgen ago. We actually, I think the first time I met you was 1997, the summer of 1997 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And this was before MTV. It was an Alice Cooper headlining show with Dokken, I want to say Warrant, and another band in Pittsburgh.
That would be Dokken. I remember it. Dokken. It was, who else did you say? Warrant.
I know Red Beach was there, but
maybe wasn't it a version of LA Guns, or was it, or it was either LA Guns or it was oh my God, the name is on the tip of my tongue. Dokken.
No, definitely not the New York Dogs. It was Slaughter, I think, maybe even.
Slaughter. That's exactly who it was. Oh man. Good memory. Well, you know what? That's the thing, Jesse. I've always admired you. Is that no matter how much of the noise and how much of the craziness is around you, you always seem to have a laser focus of where you are right here, right now.
Yes, I am very much 2 feet in reality. I may be daydreaming, but I'm definitely keeping my feet on the ground and always watching my surroundings because, you know, I've been the victim of too many Ponzi schemes. But
well, you came from New York. You came from New York. Did you ever meet Bernie Madoff? And did you ever get suckered in by one of those Ponzi schemes?
I got so close to Bernie Madoff, Bernie made out with him.
You went Bernie made on.
Yeah, absolutely. I only went to first base with Bernie because I didn't want to emotionally get burned, you know?
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's the whole thing with the pyramid scheme is that it's like you always need new investors so you can pay off your old investors. But at some point, that merry-go-round is going to stop and you're going to owe people money. And that is when the house of cards comes tumbling down. We're
talking economics here with Jesse Camp, our guest today on In the Trenches. Feel the burn, if you will.
Yes.
I'm not just talking tetracycline that can cure it.
Are we going to do an ad for, because both of us we've never had gonorrhea, but we can sympathize with those who have had it.
Speak for yourself. Well, the good news is both of us only got herpes once. That's it.
Simplex.
Which simplex are you?
Well, remember there was Herpy and Burpy, those twins, and you were with Herpy. I believe I got Burpy.
I think you just had a couple of those. Herpy and Burpy were on the show introducing you along with the junkyard grizzly dog.
Yeah. And he's really not that mean. Definitely, you know, junkyard dog. He's more like a goat dog because he eats a lot of aluminum cans.
If anybody has no idea what we're talking about, because I'm slowly losing reality,
Ryan,
you will have to rewind this.
It will not go that way, like at all, because I love to goof around and be silly. But honestly, when it comes to the topics that are usually covered on In the Trenches, I really want to go down any rabbit hole with you. We're both giant fans of rock and roll. I mean, you know, I could talk stars. We could talk about with a Z, anything you want. I mean, like,
well, here's the thing that really impresses me that I did not know until we started doing the research, until Federica, thank you very much.
I am a doctor.
Out with the
I got a PhD in jazz studies from Cornell. Was that what you were going to bring up?
I was not even close to bringing that up yet. But if that's true, then we're going to talk about
studies,
that.
So I don't really feel worthy of being called a doctor. But technically, if you wanted to call me Dr. Camp, you actually could.
Well, I will not, because I will call you Jesse until we get to that point where we take a fork in the road and we choose if we want to go down science or religion. So hold on now.
I don't feel comfortable, Dr. Camp. Just Jesse, you and me. Come on.
All right. Roxie, Jesse, we both have this synergy. We have this connection all coming from the East Coast. All right.
True.
I lived in New York in the late 80s.
But you're from the Bay Area originally.
Yes, I am. But but you lived in New York in the late 90s. Now I'm trying to think that if there was some sort of weird time travel that we could have both met somewhere in the middle, that would have been really dangerous. But we did meet on the East Coast, and we have a lot of similarities with the people that we've sort of hung out with, associated ourselves with, because we both come from the trenches of rock and roll. We're both are fans of true rock and roll. And so many of the guests that have come on to In the Trenches have some sort of association with you. So first and foremost, right out of the gate, my first question
is Dennis DeYoung. Yeah, Dennis
DeYoung, Steve Conti. I'm talking about
Conti, Night Bob,
Cher from from Vixen,
and Bam
Alex
Bam.
Kane. Bam, Cher and Bam Bam. I'm talking Alex Kane. These are all people that have been on the podcast. Night Bob, we just had on recently. If you'd like to check out an older episode, there's a picture of you and Michael DeBars. Can't hear you, bro.
From that photo, I hope you can tell that we were lovers, very intimate with each other.
More than you and Bernie Madoff.
He taught me how to be a giver. You know, I was always just a greedy lover, and Michael really. No, that's not true. Hey, again, but that's crazy. He's part of the gang too.
Now, being that Vic has completely thrown a monkey wrench into our podcast, into our script, and just put up that picture of you and Michael DeBars, let's kick off right there. How did you meet Michael, and where do the two of you fit in this whole tree of rock and roll?
Well, he's a power bottom, and I'm a power top. That's how we fit.
Is that the giving and receiving again?
Yeah. I mean, oh, no. Ryan, this is actually an amazing... Okay, you're such a good interviewer. You teed this off into an amazing story. The story of how I met Michael DeBar is pretty amazing. And again, I just wanted to acknowledge, though, that like you too lived in New York. Like, bottom line is that Electric Angels were like an amazing New York City, East Coast hard rock band. And during that time, I mean, for you guys to stick it, you were really being like a Lou Reed, like loyal to New York City by being, a hard rock band and representing,
the band I was in called Electric Angels. At the time, there was a few bands like that had that spirit of rock and roll.
Yes.
Electric Angels, the Throbs were another band that were around in the same area, same time, same era. There was a really cool scene. But when you mentioned U2, I know you're not talking about Sting and The Edge. You're saying Me Also. So Me Also living in New York. I want to hear your experience about how Michael DeBar came into your life.
Yes, and thank you very much. I will stay on point. It's an amazing story. What I was going to say is that there in the mid and late 90s, and I think it kind of died out in the early 2000s, there used to be a really amazing flea market that was on, I think, 6th Avenue and 23rd Street. And it was rocking. And so I would always run into very interesting people at this flea market. Like one time I saw Fred Schneider there, and I think he was really
from the B-52s.
Yeah. Like of the B-52s.
Vic, do you have a picture of Fred Schneider right now? No, Vic does. Our producer does not have a picture of you and Fred Schneider.
Oh no. I think there is a photo that exists of me and the B and Fred. I was going to call him the Bomber, but this is where the story gets interesting. So I remember and they'd have this flea market on Saturdays. So I was leaving the flea market and I see this almost like a Greek god, like I want to say Adonis or something like that. Man, just in shorts, like jogging, like a silver-haired fox, just like a badass, like jogging down 6th Avenue, and some intuition. I think I knew Michael DeBar at that time from the new WKRP in Cincinnati. I don't even think I knew like about Silverhead yet at that point. Or
did he play a villain in WKRP Part 2? Because I mean, he's used to playing villains on TV, and I can't imagine him being a villain there.
Oh, with the new and then this all goes full circle because I got a new. I don't know if Vic told you about it, but a new pilot, a new show that we've been making. That's very kind of has WKRP, heavy WKRP influence.
References, yeah. We're talking about that later.
WKRP, on the new WKRP in Cincinnati, the only originals from the 70s were Les Nessman, Herb Tarlick, and Arthur Carlson. And then it was all new DJs and talent. And so I think that's Welcome Back, Kotter.
That's Welcome Back, Kotter.
But long story short, Michael DeBar transitioned from a rocker. I mean, he made it all the way to the Live Aid stage, fronting Power Station. Then he segued into like being an actor. Anyway, I met him because he was jogging like a badass outside
like a silver-haired fox, which you don't normally see on 6th Avenue. You see rats. You see rats the size of silver-haired foxes.
I try to stay away from those silver-haired foxes on 6th Avenue because, like Jacob Dylan says, it always leads to a 6th Avenue heartache.
Ah, I love that. See, so that's your Michael DeBar introduction.
Yes.
What led to you getting to that photo that Vic put up? Because obviously he wasn't in his jogging suit at that point.
No. I was doing like an interview series about 4 years ago that still actually needs to get finished editing and put out. I mean, because there are a lot of great interviews. I like George Clinton, Steve Earle. We have a bunch of cool stuff. I even think there was like an episode of this thing that we shot in Tulsa, Oklahoma, when Alice Cooper Band was kicking off a tour. But that photo is from doing an interview with Michael DeBar for that project.
And you probably had much better audio than we had on our podcast, but that's a completely different story and a completely different episode.
How is today looking? Because I really feel like if you're doing someone else's show, you're an asshole if you like come on like all blurry with crappy audio. You know what I'm saying? It's like you like
look
with the
great.
Radio Shack flip phone. So I hope that the visual is looking good.
That's half my guests. Half my guests have the flip phone. What are you talking about? So hold on. I'm just saying today you look so clear. You look so HD. And folks, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of those other streaming platforms, thank you very much. They're audio platforms, but we want you on our YouTube official channel right there. Hit that subscribe button because you can see Jesse Camp in all his HD glory. And you know what? You sound great. You look great, which leads me to my next question. Obviously, we're coming back to the future, back to the present right now, and we'll go back to the past in a little bit. But the reason I'm shaved is for political reasons. All right. Very political. Yes, it was. It was ultimatums put when I got home from tour. And now it's all good when you're shaved. Let me tell you that. It works both ways. It works both sexes. It works growth both ways. But you, my friend, have the most amazing. Is it Wilford Brimley? Is that who I'm looking at? Or is it, are you part of a new Western that you're shooting? But you have a mustache that I could never even compete with. So even if I did have my mustache, it would look like kid stuff compared to what you have. What's the inspiration? What happened there?
Backstory on this mustache is that, honestly, I just started growing it last Tuesday because I thought if Ryan's going to have a mustache, I'll have one. I mean, like, I grow this like night. I'm just joking. Ryan, I started growing this last November. This mustache is about a year old. This is a year of mustache growth. And I was going to say,
Jesse, if you could have grown that since last Tuesday, that much of a mustache, I would really challenge you to I would want everybody on the podcast to see your back because I'm sure that would rival that of Paul Stanley's. I'm sure it would.
Yeah. I mean, like no one is even Brazilianing that because it's a freaking rainforest. It's a high volume. No, I'm just kidding. I suspect, even though I don't, it didn't mean to say go to any this. I feel, I feel uncomfortable saying this, but I do feel that you and I were not that like hairy. You know what I mean? Like
it's weird. I have hair on my arms, which I have to kind of do maintenance. But you look like you have very sheen. You have a sheen to your arms, so you don't just look like you grow so much hair on your arms. Or do you maintenance that?
I mean, under the manhole, so to speak. I mean, there's definitely. I got armpit hair for sure,
but not arm hair, but not arm like actual arm hair. Because look, if you can,
like not really,
My arm's in HD. Yeah, okay. And no hair on the chest for me. What about you?
I mean, like, look, there are a couple of strays that come out of the nipples, but I mean, like that's it,
Who doesn't have that? We're talking. Manscaping, landscaping.
There's some outliners, but overall, yeah, it's hard to find the hair on this derriere.
I love to talk about manscaping, but you look more like a landscaper right now, and that's the look we're going for. I think I saw you out of Home Depot. Are you? Is the new place where you're hanging out right outside of Home Depot?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're nailing the look. I think the look is if Liberace was in a Home Depot parking lot. That's the vibe. But no, listen, I mean, like I find yard work very rewarding. I do a lot of Japanese gardening on my 25 acres here in Marin County, and I gotta say, Ryan, it's my way of meditating. You know, when I am one with my hibiscus tree and I'm manicuring it just so, I truly find bliss, and I speak my mantra and clarity comes to me. So, all right, listen, I promise not to be like.
I thought I was doing a podcast with Russell Brand all of a sudden. I just figured, I was like, what happened? Because it's the hair, the philosophy, it was all there.
Hello. Well, I gotta say, Ryan, I mean, like back in the day when Russell Brand came out, I was a little like, okay, you know, this guy is definitely a little too similar, but
he watched a little bit of your shtick. I think he watched a little bit, and which never shtick, because that's what we're getting into. The fact that how did you end up in the greatest city in the world, the Big Apple, New York City? It became from MTV, correct?
Completely, and there's no way I can. Yo, look at that. That is me at 18 or 19. That's crazy.
You know what?
That is
you
a
look like an
fresh-faced kid
activist
right there. That guy right there could not grow a mustache.
Right there. Hold on. Put that picture back up. And I know we're being topical right now. Right now, you look like someone protesting, an activist protesting against something about the environment. And probably, yeah, I mean,
because they kind of look like a lesbian in this photo here on the over there.
Those are your words, not mine. Just want to just make that clear for the whole podcast. So, because we're not even big enough to get canceled over here in the chat.
Oh, I didn't mean to say no. You don't understand. No. I love lesbian. You know what? I hope that lesbians took that as a compliment. I thought I was banging in that picture, and so you know. That's oh my gosh, picture. No, Brandy Carlisle. I mean, like I love all the different varieties of. I just love human beings, whatever they're into. You know, but a lot of love for lesbians.
There you go. You heard it first. That's our exclusive soundbite.
But love for everybody.
And speaking of alternative lifestyles, and is it can you even say alternative lifestyles? Who the fuck knows anymore? We can swear here on In the Trenches. And that's why I don't give a fuck. But you know what? We've always been associated with all genders. I
think that was Jello Biafra's clothing company, Alternative Styles.
Well, let's go back to that photo. Let's go back to that story of how you ended up, my friend, in pretty much the most gender fluid city in the world, New York. How did it work? How did it work out?
Ryan, this is a really cool story. Really magical. So let me take you back to the year 1998. I believe. Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It is 1998, and I was out of high school for I just graduated high school about 9 months previous. And long story short, after high school, well, I'll take you to the good part. Basically, in April of 1998, MTV they were opening up a brand new Times Square studio, and this was before any of the morning talk shows on networks like the Today Show or Good Morning America had outdoor studios. MTV was actually the first ever to have a studio with open windows facing towards the street, and so they did this.
I did not know that.
Yeah, which is really crazy. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, MTV did so many innovative things. Arguably, you know, reality television. MTV really pioneered that, at least here in the United States. Yeah. But not to. I'm really sorry, guys, if I keep adding extraneous details. This is the story of me, how I became an MTV VJ. I was only supposed to be an MTV VJ for 6 weeks. It turned into 2 years. And then I was able to launch a music career from there. And then, you know, it's so many fun twists and turns that take us to now. But long story short, it's April 1998. And to basically kind of get a lot of attention for the brand new studio they're about to open up, MTV has this big contest called Who Wants to Be a VJ? And so they're advertising it. MTV advertised this crazily. Like if there was a bus that went by, or if you're reading a magazine, I mean, it was really.
How did you hear about the contest? How did you actually hear about the contest? Were you already in the city, or are you outside?
I was already in the city. But
okay.
like what I would do is I'm born and raised. Well, I was born in Hartford, Connecticut, and so that's where my family lived at that time. So what I would do is I would I'd go into the city during the week, like Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends I'd chill back at home. And
you take the train, or would you go down the 95? Would you drive? Would you drive down the 95, or would you take the train?
I take the bus.
Okay.
At that point, yeah. But I mean, I was like 18 years old at the time, and so.
What places were you frequenting? Where were you going at that point in New York City? Because in my era, we had the Cat Club. My era, we had the Limelight. But I think in your era, which is 10 years later,
Don Hills, Kansas City,
maybe Don Hills.
Don Hills was later in the 80s, but in the 70s. Oh, I'm you didn't know I'm 72 years old.
Hold on, Jesse, stay on point. Where were you going? Where were you hanging out?
Well, I got a lot. Actually, Coney Island High was the place, like St. Mark's.
Coney Island High was the guys from Bridget
and the
West.
Continental.
The Continental Divide. Bridget West, who was on our podcast just a few weeks ago as well.
From New York Blues.
From New York Blues. She was played Coney Island High a lot. I think that was another Jesse's club, right?
Jesse
from
Malin.
From Degeneration.
Right.
Okay. So
I know that Jesse Malin, he has Niagara and he has several bars and stuff. I didn't realize that Coney Island, that he was a partner or owner of Coney Island High.
I think he was one of the originators of that whole scene as well. So, and like I said, they were kind of a natural progression from the clubs that I was going to when I lived in New York, which was Cat Club, which turned into Don Hills, Limelight, a bunch of different places down the Scrap Bar. Oh my God, you probably weren't. You were too young.
No, Scrap Bar was in. I'm sorry. Scrap Bar was like south of Houston, right?
It was McDougal, Bleecker and McDougal.
Oh, it was West Village.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
And it was the Scrap Bar. I'm going to do an entire podcast episode someday of the Scrap Bar, about the Scrap Bar. So you're coming down to New York City on weekends. You get this audition. Was it an audition? Was it?
Well, but I've been coming down to New York since probably the end of middle school, and I got if you want later on, I got a cool Norm Macdonald story. But
I love, Norm Macdonald's my favorite, so I want the Norm Macdonald story for sure. But I just want to get through to the point of how you got onto MTV and into that Times Square.
Absolutely. Basically, so MTV had this contest called "Who Wants to Be a VJ," and basically on a Monday and a Tuesday, and there you go. That is the outside of 1515 Broadway, where the TRL and the MTV studios are located to this day. But so this "Who Wants to Be a VJ" contest, basically, the rules were that anybody that could make it to Times Square and wanted to could come down to the MTV studios and audition to be MTV's new VJ. And so it was like an open casting call, if you will. And about 5,000 or so people showed up, myself included. And then from the 5,000 people that auditioned, the MTV executives and talent coordinators, they cut that down to 10 people from the 5,000, and then basically through a series of shows and contests, televised contests, viewers at home narrowed the 10 down to 6, and then on a Saturday for 4 hours, MTV had the finals, which was the final 6 contestants, which included me and another guy named Dave Holmes. And basically, when it came down to the 6 people that were left, viewers had to call like a phone number. Oh yeah, that was the guy that me and Dave were the finalists in the contest, and I did end up winning, but Dave's, you know, he's.
But here's the thing, Jesse. I remember watching when all that was going down, and subsequently, shortly thereafter, where you became a regular on Always on MTV, and you're very likable. You're very likable right out of the gate. And I remember me and my bandmates or whoever I was hanging out with at the time, all mostly, you know, rock and rollers, rock influence. We were all rooting for you because we felt like, hey, here's this guy that's taking on, that's been handed the baton of rock and roll, and he's running with it. And now he's actually really, really doing something to keep the legacy of true rock and roll alive, and New York rock and roll, in my opinion. So
that is the highest.
We were championing you the whole time. So I'm glad that it did work out. Now, during that time, you started hanging around with a bunch of like some would say nefarious, others would say engaging.
I was a Hell's Angel for a couple of years. Is that what we were getting into?
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, I'm talking about your relationships that you had with characters, you know, all over, all different types, all different creeds, colors, sexual orientation, everything around Jesse Camp. Sort of, it all revolved around Jesse Camp. And one of your closer friends, Mike Denied.
Oh.
You know, he was around during that time, and I guess he ended up being a case study for an actual movie, right? With a big actor. What was that about?
It's really funny that you should mention that, because I just saw Jared.
And you're talking about Jared Leto, right?
There was a Gucci after party and a Gucci show here in LA, and but.
I thought you were in Marin County.
Is that Ryan? Like, I think you and I hold up very well, but Jared Leto, I mean, he is ageless. He is the 8th wonder. But he drinks blood. He must drink blood, or he transfuses it. He drinks Keith Richards' blood. He has a regiment that's definitely TS, top secret. But basically, Jared Leto studied Mike Denied, who again is this amazing, even taller than I am, like 6'6", punk rocker that's half Johnny Thunders, half Mink DeVille. You know, I mean, I don't think Mike would. No, that's Jared Leto. But Jared Leto basically lived with Mike Denied for 3 weeks to study Mike so that he could play a convincing heroin addict in the movie Requiem for a Dream. Which
was an amazing movie. Jennifer Connelly was awesome in it as well. And it's just any chance I get to mention the name Jennifer Connelly,
Darren
I usually do.
I believe, is the director who
you got me on that. Yeah.
You
always know those the small details. That's the thing about hanging out with Jesse. The small details. You do not get lost on the small details. And there it is.
No, the devil hangs out in the small details.
The devil's always in the details. From Jordan Peterson to Jesse Camp, we have it all here on In the Trenches, and I love it. We're sitting here talking lots of New York stories. Yes, it might go.
Jordan Peterson or Jordan Peele from Keel and Peele?
Jordan Peterson, the YouTube sensation as well.
Oh, yeah.
As you are a YouTube, you would be considered a YouTube sensation if there was YouTube back in those days.
Well, oh yeah, definitely. And I'm more of a YouTube delicacy.
I like it. So you're these people that you're hanging around, these what was it that either brought them to you or that you went to them? How did it happen? Did they just know you as the VJ, or did they know you as the eccentric, crazy New Yorker that because there's another very, very special New Yorker that you had a relationship with? I know a story. You saved his life, And, God rest his soul. We love him. He's been in the trenches as well. We're talking about the mayor, the unofficial mayor of New York is Jimmy Webb. There he is. And I want to hear the story about how you saved his life. Did you save his life?
Yeah, I mean, but I don't even think of it in terms of saving his life, because it was just he was 100% sober. I think that Jimmy Sweet had been sober even at that point when this happened for at least a decade or so. But long story short, we were on this rock and roll cruise. It was like a Spin magazine party when Spin was still a thing. Celebrating Iggy Pop. And I think it was celebrating Iggy Pop and Sum 41, who had just they'd made an album together, if you can believe that. That really did happen. And so it was like this weird Virgin Records, which I think was Iggy Pop's record label, had this big cruise along on the west side of New York on the Hudson River, kind of to celebrate the album launch. And of course everyone knows Jimmy Webb is a humongous Iggy Pop fan. So Jimmy Webb was just kind of dancing, and he literally fell over the guardrail about, I would say, at least about 40 feet down into the water. And
he was in the Hudson. Jimmy Webb was in the Hudson. God rest his soul. We love him. If you want to go check out the episode with Jimmy Webb in the trenches, it's a very engaging episode to listen
to.
Actually,
now that I think about it, you've done 2 in the trenches with 2 different Jimmy Webbs, because the man who wrote Galveston and By the Time I Get to Phoenix, Jimmy Webb, of course, of Glenn Campbell, Jimmy Webb fame. He was also, I believe, the 3rd ever guest on In the Trenches.
I don't believe that's true, but but I want to get back to Jimmy Webb.
But
he falls 40 feet into the Hudson.
The paywall episode. So
do you just have long arms? Do you just have that incredibly long arms, or how did you retrieve Mr. Webb from the Hudson?
No, Ryan, I literally grabbed a life jacket off of, because there were life jackets, and I dove, and I didn't even think twice on it, because I don't think that it was that he couldn't swim, but I think that he was in such a state of shock that he literally, because I can imagine if you fall over a guardrail and then all of a sudden you have this long drop and then you're in water, he was in a state of shock and panic. And it was really, I feel uncomfortable saying this because I don't want to sound like I'm being like some modest hero or nothing. It really wasn't me. Something like an instinct just took over me, and I just inherently knew you have to save him. And I didn't mean to use that word, but you have to help him. And and I just I grabbed the life jacket and I climbed up the thing and dove off the rail down. And luckily I mean, even though we're both skinny, I am taller, than Jimmy. I probably, I always usually weigh around like 180. And so I was able to, he didn't drag me under, and I was able to kind of hold him. And then, basically they lowered I guess sort of, how do I put it? It's
a lifeboat or some sort of harness?
Not a rope. It's like basic, but made out of rope, but where it's steps, so that if you were very careful, it was strong enough that we could climb our way back onto the ship. And so, Jimmy went first and I went behind him, like a ladder, basically like a strong roped ladder. And then, and we climbed back on, and he was shaken up. But
folks, we are here in the trenches talking to American hero Jesse Camp. Look for the new made-for-TV movie with Tom Hanks. I think it'll be Tom Hanks, because didn't he already play a hero that did save someone on the Hudson?
Scully. Yes.
So he could be Scully too. I guess you would be the silver medalist for all heroes on the Hudson. Heroes on the Hudson. The movie writes itself. It writes itself.
Absolutely. And I believe one of America's greatest heroes ever to live off the Hudson would be Franklin Delano Roosevelt and his brother Teddy. But we'll save that for never. But what I was going to say is...
we already covered that in the 3rd episode when we had the original Jimmy Webb.
Who knew Jimmy Webb was such a history buff? I mean, like I saw the discomfort in your eyes. It was like, dude, you wrote some of the greatest songs of all time. Why do we have to do 45 minutes on the Alamo? You know, you were very polite.
I am. He's a Wikipedia buff. He really is.
Hey, Ryan, final weird outburst. And I did not practice this for the show. I want to see how far I can get, because the one other giant link between us, I can't not mention this. I don't have a whole lot of tattoos, but this is one of them. And it's if you can see, Axl Rose has this exact girl, but
your girl has
Alice
Cooper eyes. Oh my God. I've never noticed that about you.
Yes.
I mean, luckily, this is the closest I've ever come to your arm
And also notice, if you were listening earlier, not a very hairy arm.
No. You have a very, very hairless shoulder, which is a good thing.
Yay.
Paul Stanley cannot say the same. Why am I going off on Paul Stanley? Look at this. This is like this is a tattoo artist's dream.
Yeah.
This is a tattoo artist's dream right there.
That's an open canvas.
It's an open canvas.
That's open road right there.
Oh man, the
no
dream
one has
about that.
territory.
Shout out to Man's Ruined Tattoo.
Roxie
We love him.
Maybe go there later on in the evening.
Hey,
but
we have a lot of tattoo. We have a lot of tattoo enthusiasts that listen to In the Trenches. We love you all. It's just one of those things where, it's always been the anomaly. You know who else doesn't have any tattoos? I have 0 tattoos. You know the only other person that I know, the only other rock and roller that I know. 0.
I'm sorry,
0.
that was high
Noodles.
pitch. You have none?
0.
Wow.
Lots of arm hair, but no tattoos. The only other rock and roller that I know with 0 tattoos, Alice Cooper himself.
Interesting. And amazing. Well,
hey,
there you go.
Was that your high school prom picture? I love it. Did you guys not know that you went to high school prom?
Yes. I mean, obviously I have a type, and it's women that look scarily like Alice Cooper. That's why I hang out in a lot of active senior centers.
You know, I can tell that was not your prom, because if it was your prom, you would have made Alice stand on a couple telephone books to sort of even out the size, even out the height.
This is true. I am what you might call a very extended, but I'll tell you this, that I have pretty normal legs. My height comes from my extended torso. But since
who else has a long torso?
Alice Cooper, just really quickly as a contest, I want to see if I can at least name all the studio albums, starting with Pretty's for You, Easy Action, Love It to Death, Killer, School's Out, $1 Billion Babies, Muscle of Love, Greatest Hits, Welcome to My Nightmare, Goes to Hell, Lace and Whiskey, The Alice Cooper Show, From the Inside, Flush the Fashion, Special Forces, Zipper Catches Skin, Dada, Constrictor, Raise Your Fist and Yell, Trash, Hey Stupid, The Last Temptation, Ryan Roxie's debut appearance on the Alice Cooper album, A Fistful of Alice.
Yes.
And then a break, but only so that Bob Marlett and Bob Ezrin, along with Ryan, could totally make a brilliant album, Brutal Planet. Then you have Dragon Town, Every Woman Has a Name, phenomenal track. I don't know why that, you guys, but I won't go on a deep cuts tangent. So you have Dragon Town. This is where it's going to get rough, but I can do it.
Garage Band,
Super, Dirty Diamonds. You know what might be really genuinely one of my very favorite albums, but if you'd been on it, it would have made it even better. Maybe you're on it, but I really love Along Came a Spider.
I am not on that album, but I am on the previous 2 that you mentioned, Eyes of Alice Cooper and Dragon
Eyes of Alice Cooper.
Yes, I am. So after what happens after
Eyes of Alice Cooper is brilliant.
Along Came a Spider. What happens after Came a Spider? You got me up to there. You're almost there. Nobody asked for this list, by the way. Nobody asked for you to mention all these, but now I want you to make it to the end. Come on. We're at the finish line.
To My Nightmare.
All right.
Welcome to My Nightmare. Oh, shoot. Because I know there's one in between there, but I want to say Paranormal.
Yes.
Sociopath.
Paranormal.
That's not the exact name of it. I was huffing glue when it came out heavily, so
I think it's just called Paranormal Personality or
Paranormal Personality. Yes, Bob Ezrin produced a good amount of that, and then this year brought us Detroit Stories, which is a welcome back to that fabulous Detroit sound. Alice brings along friends like Wayne Kramer and Steve Hunter, and they have a
And
real
what's coming up?
vibe.
And what's coming up? Where did I just come from? What's the next album? What is it?
Detroit Stories?
No, it's a band album called The Road. I think that's the working title right now. But yeah, we were all in the studio just recently. The band's going to be.
We're talking Disvicious, Tommy Hendrickson, Ryan Roxie,
That's
Nina
right.
Strauss,
Yes.
Chuck Garrick.
You know him.
By the way, I just want to say that,
You're
Glenn
buying time.
has really like come back. I know that he was really upset about the whole vehicular manslaughter charge thing. I mean, but like that guy walked in front of his car, and so it's
Glenn Sobel.
I'm glad that Glenn has been able to deal with that and come back to drumming.
Glenn
Not
Sobel.
all true. Glenn Sobel
One more
has
person.
perfect DMV
Alice
record.
Cooper. That's The Road. And there you go. That album comes out 2022.
Is it a studio album or a live album?
A studio record. Come on, enough about me. Just like Geddy Lee would say, it comes out in 2022 instead of 2021.
And it's new studio tracks, all written by the band with
Maybe
Alice?
all that stuff's coming. But you know what? That's a whole nother podcast. You know what? I feel that at one point we're going to need you to be the guest, not the VJ, but the guest DJ or the guest host for In the Trenches, and then you can interview me about that studio album.
Absolutely.
Let's take a break real quick.
Great, like what do they call it? Like those, like the evening at the Y, like Y on 92nd Street, where like if Jerry Seinfeld just had a Comedian with Cars season drop, like he'd do a big interview with Brian Wallace. If we had, if it's a band thing, if you want a moderator, or we can also just go a one-on-one. Yeah, anything.
Moderators are supposed to moderate. There's nothing moderate about you at all, Jesse. That's why I don't want a moderator. I want someone to just go completely nuts, completely wild. I love it. We're here with American hero Jesse Camp. We are going to take a very quick break now, and you can hear from one of our sponsors. Like I say, there's a lot to talk about. It's going to go all over the place, folks, but we appreciate you being here. We're going to be here for a little bit while longer. Again, Jesse Camp, Vic Chalfant. Let's run a little thing about our good friends at Beyerdynamic. What do you say?
Hello, Ryan Roxie here, host of the In the Trenches podcast, and I also play guitar for Alice Cooper. I just wanted to take a second to talk about what mic you're hearing me speak through and what headphones I choose to listen to all my audio with. My go-to podcast and live performance mic is this TG V70 dynamic vocal mic. And when I'm recording acoustic stuff, I'll always mic it up with the Beyerdynamic M160 double ribbon mic. I listen to everything with the DT 1770 Pro headphones unless I'm out and about. That's when the Eventho wireless headphones really make listening to music, podcasts, or any other audio app that's on my phone ultra high fidelity and latency free. Check out their official site or the links below in the description of this video to find out more about what makes Beyerdynamic a musician's choice in pro audio mics and headphones. Now, let's get back into the trenches for some more rock and roll. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the ride.
There we are. We're back, baby, in the trenches. Vic, get on here real quick, because you know what? I just did a thing with Beyerdynamic. I don't know if any of you guys saw that in the trenches in the chat. Maybe someone can put up the link.
Beyerdynamic is not Boston Dynamic, which are the company that makes those scary police robots that look like dogs.
I'm surprised we didn't have that introducing the show, but they're a little bit heavier than puppets, I think.
They're going to sponsor next week's show, I think.
But Beyerdynamic is our headphones and our audio right now, and as you might find in your studio, that you might need it for that double album you're making.
Ryan, speaking of which, would you like to meet the producer of the brand new double Jesse Camp's? I don't want to call it a duets album, but we both have
albums coming out. Why not?
Left. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, and Ryan and Victor, this is Stefan Larakis.
What's up, Stefan? How you doing, man? What's going down?
I know what you're saying. You're saying, wait a minute, is that Ben Affleck's brother, Casey Affleck? But it's not. He's even more handsome than Casey Affleck, the one, the only Mr. Stefan Larakis. And Stefan,
We admire your facial hair. We really do over here in the trenches. We admire all facial hair. We admire your facial hair.
Oh, thanks. I actually do, because I ride motorcycles and it's starting to get cold. So, you know how, do you ever grow a little facial hair and then you shave and you realize, and the cold hits, even just in your bathroom, and you feel a big difference. So I think about that. Should I shave? But then I know that, nighttime, then my nose will get cold and frosty, and so.
Well, there's a great Clash song, "Should I Shave or Should I Go?" And that's one of my. I don't know if you produced that.
I listen to that every morning just to remind me. That's kind of my get up and go song right there.
And if I shave, there will be trouble. If I don't, it will be double. I understand that, because you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you shave it, it's going to grow back thicker and more coarse and hell of annoying. But if you don't shave it, you're going to look a little like Grizzly. So
I thought the line was, "If I shave, there will be sex." I think that's what I was going on. That's what it was.
And if I don't, the couch will be next.
Maybe a new song for the double album. It'll make the
the road
Japan, the Japan import. But how's the album going? Everything's going good with you guys producing the record?
Oh yeah, it's going great. We're actually doing some remodeling over here and fixing it up and bringing it to the next level while we have a break and stuff. But we're working on all the stuff we got to work on. And,
well, thank you very much for taking the time out. And
Stefan is Ryan. Honestly, he's a brother and he's a best friend of mine. But he's also an amazing musician in his own right. He is the lead singer of Sleazy Jesus and the Worst. And quite honestly, I mean, he is one of the most eligible. Well, I'll just say this: in the last month, you have dated a Kardashian.
Hold on. We are not a dating app. Hold on. In the Trenches is a podcast, not a dating app. But Stefan looks like he's doing fine, just all by himself. Him and his facial hair do just fine out with the ladies. They're doing fine. They're doing fine. You and your Wilford Brimley mustache, that's something that we're going to talk about in the second half as well. But
I'm full of oatmeal.
I appreciate you guys coming on the show. Stefan, good luck with working with Jesse. And I heard Theodore and Alvin. I heard Alvin has a little bit of a coke problem, but Theodore's into Adderall. It's all good.
Yeah, well, we're making money off all of them, so that's all right.
They're puppets. Yeah. That's what you do.
But you're right. I think Theodore has been hitting that Adderall really hard.
A little too much.
We ought to talk to him about that. Because he's, he normally is a big healthy eater.
Well, I'm going to get more into Jesse Camp's current events, which is going to include this double album, triple album. By the time you are done with it, it's going to be a quadruple album in Quadrophenia. Let's see.
Which, by the way, I thought was an amazing highlight of the In the Trenches episode featuring Night Bob, where Night Bob explained how quadraphonic sound works.
Yes, it is. That's
I believe he was working with Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and which, by the way, before they were Emerson, Lake and Palmer, because all three of the dudes in that band met at hairdressing school. It was called Emerson, Lake and Pomade.
Well, better than Emerson, Lake and Palmolive, where they all met at sort of dishwashing school.
Yes.
Have I showed you a magic trick? Have I showed you a magic trick from one of our sponsors? There you go. That's it. It's the only magic that I do for the entire show. Thank you, CliC Readers, for being one of our sponsors as well. We're getting back into In the Trenches, though. Thank you very much, Stefan. I'll see you later, my friend. You'll be on our next when we do Jimmy Webb Part 2. Not Jimmy Webb, who we love. God rest his soul.
Ryan, one final thing is that about 5 minutes, and again, you know that I have a hard 9 hours from now, hard out, in 8 hours. I was gonna say about 10 minutes minutes before you want to end, which I hope we don't. I'm yours as long as you want. I mean, I kind of, for my own ego, would rather have like a 2 hour In the Trenches than like when it's like, like the Iron Maiden Blaze Bailey guy, very cool. But you know what I mean? Like when
he
you
did have a hard out.
hour,
He had a hard 60-minute out, so that's what did happen. But no, you know what? It's Friday night. Everybody just got paid. So anybody that wants to come around, this is our In the Trenches party. And I honestly feel that Jesse Camp, you are quickly becoming a fan favorite, even though this is only your first dip into the trenches with us.
My first wife, Nicole,
because you have such a history with so many of our guests, and there we just see that picture that Vic, our producer, Vic Chalfant, just put up. You with Michael Monroe, who was, also a fan favorite as well of In the Trenches. But how did that relationship blossom between you and Michael Monroe? Is it just because you're both tall, or how did that work?
Well, we're both Finnish, but we're not finicky. And by the way, I hear that it's very 420 friendly in Ryan's home country of Sweden.
Sweden, yeah.
Yeah, is there a dispensary in Sweden called Sweden or no?
There's no, because actually weed in Sweden is still a class A drug. It's a class 1 drug. It's the exact same penalty for heroin and cocaine as it would be for weed. So just so you know, in case you're planning to come on Sweden, to come to Sweden all filled with with gummies. Don't bring your gummies here. We don't need your gummies here in Sweden. I actually even think that
when you're in Sweden.
What is that stuff that's not weed, but it's everybody else does it? It's called, Chuck has his aces stuff. It's GMT. What was it called, Vic? CMD, CDM, CBM. Come on, Vic, just come on the screen and tell us
CBD.
What it is. CBD. There you go.
It's like Bell Biv DeVoe. You down with BBD? Or like
you know
OPP.
me.
CBD.
That's OPP.
OPP, CBD. But you're talking about like the extract of marijuana that's used really mostly for health purposes and not to get high.
And go check out Chuck Garrick's newest project with the CBD infused. What is it?
Does Chuck Garrick really have his own CBD line?
He's working with a company now called Aces that does this vapor rub that's kind of like it actually works because I'll be honest, this is a true life testimonial, and he's going to be so happy that I mentioned it on the podcast. But on this last tour with Alice Cooper, Ace Frehley, which I'm sure you have a story or two about Ace Frehley.
Oh, definitely.
I did a windmill. On the guitar, as us old school folks will do. And very first time doing the windmill on the tour, I smashed my hand. And I tore off the pickup selector from the Les Paul. I hit it with such force, so my hand kind of swelled up a little bit. It was right here, this part right there. You can tell the tour's almost done because there goes all my black nail polish. It's almost already done. But anyway, my hand was aching. Chuck goes, try some of this Aces ointment,
CBD ointment.
Yeah, and he put it on there. I'm telling you, 2 days later, I was back to normal, back to doing windmills. There you go. There's your soundbite, Chuck. Enjoy it. So
I can't even joke. That's what better testimonial could someone have?
A real on stage like incident, a real on stage sort of injury, which segues into how
I know
we
that
know
you
each
play,
other.
Ryan, you play through the pain. You're the kind of performer that like you could fall a story down and you're gonna still keep it going. There's, it's no mistake that the only human being on the planet that can actually fill Glenn Buxton's shoes is fucking Ryan Roxie. And I know now I sound like the guy that's drunk and it's like, hey man, you don't even know. But like, no, Ryan, you're a badass.
You're always
like,
deflecting. You do an amazing job of taking in the adoration, deflecting it to others to let I call it reflective glory. You're amazing at giving reflective glory, and I appreciate that. But I do want to talk about some things in the second half of the podcast.
Sure.
that might be a little bit more controversial. And the fact that I brought up my on stage sort of incident with my windmill and then getting cured by Chuck's CBD Aces ointment, I want to talk about
it's not
what
affiliated
happened
with Aces Hardware.
No, that would be Connie Stevens. She's not our spokesperson anymore. So, dude,
Connie
how
Stevens
great are
married
we
to
with
John
that?
Tesh?
Look at that. That's
Oh,
Vic, our
whoa.
producer. There it is. That's the stuff, folks.
Wow.
And you know what? They're not even a paid sponsor yet.
Is Ace
Yet,
Frehley
Chuck,
like?
you hear
Was
me?
he kind of like little like Chuck? What are you doing with that?
No, I don't. You know what? Ace Frehley, he would come in right before the show. He'd roll in with a bag man, and then he plays rock. He'd rock the house for 60 minutes. Then he'd like roll out with a bag man. So he didn't have enough time to enjoy the actual ointment. But I want to talk about other onstage things that happened that involve you
I
and
know
I and
where we're
Alice
going.
Cooper. And we're going with controversy, and we're going with theme parks,
Yes.
and we're going with the reason, one of the many, many, many different shades and flavors of Jesse Camp, because you were signed, my friend.
Just in case there's any ongoing legal fiasco, I'll wear these glasses so it's not
for this
100.
story.
This is like me going, like
This is
changing my
pixelated.
voice. But I'll tell you my version of events. But Ryan, I think what you're getting to is the giant lawsuit that I believe
the Great America spitting incident. All right. We'll just call it the spittoon. And you have the mustache now to actually back that spittoon up. But hold on, folks. Let's set up a little bit of a backstory, because right after the amazing VJ explosion of what Jesse Camp came onto the scene, you were pretty you were signed to a major record deal.
Yes.
They embraced you. You had a record made with one of the biggest producers of our time, Green Day's Rob Cavallo. Not just Green Day's, but so many huge bands. Rob Cavallo produced your album. Talk about New York. The name of the band was Jesse Camp and the 8th Street Kids. For those of you that don't know what 8th Street is, this brings it full circle. Jimmy Webb was the king of 8th Street. That's where he worked at Trashy Vaudeville. That's where he cut his teeth most until he opened up his own, store eventually. I need more. But basically, we all knew him.
And before he passed, he was about to open a third store. Jimmy was very health conscious, as you know, kept a very tight body. His one pleasure, or his one cheat, if you will, were s'mores. And so he loved nothing better than a graham cracker, a marshmallow, a little chocolate. And he would have one of those every single day. And that was his
We're
little
big
bit
fans
of
of
sugar and
s'mores here
decadence.
on In the Trenches.
Long story short, Jimmy was about to open I Need S'mores right next to I Need More, which would have been like New York's only all s'more restaurant. But
I almost believe that. I would almost believe that Jimmy Webb would do something that wacky. But so anyway, the little bit of backstory: Jesse Camp, the 8th Street Kids, make an album. They produced by Rob Cavallo, which has contributions by Cher and Bam, with the amazing Alex Kane, which so many of the In the Trenches. If you go down onto the Ryan Roxie official YouTube channel, you can find all these back episodes that have in-depth interviews with all these people that are associated with Jesse Camp. So you end up going on tour with us, Alice Cooper.
Ryan, if you want, I can really, cliff note it, but it's a very interesting story of how the album got made with all, and how I ended up working with, everyone from Alex Kane and Joe Dog and Bam
Cliff note it.
and
Let's
Cher to a guy named Rick Browdy, to Rob Cavallo. But
Rick Browdy from the Poison first Poison album.
Rick Browdy.
Look what the cat tracked in.
He's no, I like Rick. He's a tough character. But long story short, basically, the day that I won the MTV contest, I got a manager named Charlie Stetler. At the time, Charlie Stetler was managing Dr. Dre and Ed Lover, who hosted Yo MTV Raps and were MTV personalities, and it also had their own movie that Jonathan Demme directed called Who's the Man. But basically, this guy, Charlie Stetler, who was my manager, he actually got his break by managing Run DMC and basically producing the movies Crush Groove. Then he got the Fat Boys and blew that into something. And then he managed Michael Monroe during the
Jail and Rock and Roll.
Not Faking It era when he did the album on Mercury. And so basically, so, you know,
that's
like
how you and Michael have a connection. I got it now. Okay.
Yes.
So,
And
so Cliff noted even more. Let's speed it up. What happened?
Basically, somehow Charlie Stetler, my manager, was old friends with, I believe, Holly, who was Rick Browdy's wife. But about like, basically like when I had, first met Charlie, and he was like, well, what do you ultimately want to do? And I kind of told him I had this vision for a band that would kind of be, exactly like a younger Hanoi Rocks. The weird thing about all of this, and if we're really going to go into trenches, and I know that you're beyond the connoisseur, like you understand all of this like to a T, but you're right. In New York City, there had been like D-Generation, who had done like 3 albums for Columbia and really gave it the college try of being like a New York Dolls. The mid to late 90s were a really weird period for rock and roll.
Tough time
because I mean, like in 1995, I mean, like Oasis and Bush were like the #1 bands. I mean, but like there was an era,
and then on the East Coast and the West Coast, with the West Coast, it was more grunge bands like Nirvana and Soundgarden, because grunge was still going on.
But
so
then,
there was
then in the mid 90s, it got weird because, like, basically, like, after Kurt Cobain passed, and I think Pearl Jam after their 3rd album or Vitalogy, and Soundgarden broke up, and so it's sort of like grunge. Alice in Chains went into hiatus. I do later have a great Jerry Cantrell Scott Stapp story that
no.
have to let me tell you.
Keep on point.
Bottom line is, I basically, and I don't mean to sound like I'm egotistical. I basically, like on MTV, I really kind of ended up taking off as a personality. And so we were kind of in this enviable position that, like almost any record company would maybe sign me if I wanted to make a polka album, just because
immediate
of my
marketing,
MTV affiliation,
perfect marketing,
and because of just being a personality and all around fun guy. But what I'm getting at is that basically, okay, so Charlie ended up knowing Rick Browdy, and so Rick Browdy was friends with Alex Kane, Cher, Bam Bam, and Joe of Dogs D'Amour. And so then I flew out like a couple, like it was, I won the contest in like April of 98. And like, I think in August of 98, I flew out with Rick and that whole group that he assembled. And we wrote 2 songs.
You got the deal. You got the deal demo. Same time, right around the same time, you got the big record deal as well. Because this is a big record deal, folks. Back in the 90s.
Yeah, it was at least a $1 million record deal. And then all the principal songwriters of the album, we all signed a really big publishing deal as well. I think, we could just say this now. I think that everyone, Cher, Alex, Bam, and Joe and Rick all walked away with, I want to say, it was oh my God, it was a really big publishing deal. I think everyone got about $300,000.
Well, good for everybody. Everybody wins with Jesse Camp. So now hold on.
Yes.
I didn't realize that this all happened at the same time. This synergy that was happening with the Jesse Camp.
Camp. And while I was on MTV, and again, this is really an amazing period because in the fall of 98, which ended up being the same time that I got the record deal and we started writing and making the record. Also at that same time, TRL had the Total Request Live had just premiered. There you go. And, when I was on TRL for, the first year and a half of that show, and that's honestly the stories from there. That's a, if ever, there you go. That's a picture from, I believe, the final TRL episode. But TRL is a whole story in and of itself.
Let me ask you this. Is Carson Daly as awkward as I think he is, or is he a cool dude? Because I've never met the man, so I can't really judge. But I know that, you know, you could probably ask him for money and he'd probably give it to you. So it's probably a cool guy, or maybe not. But it would just seem like an awkward conversation, and like the two personalities of you and Carson together. It's like oil and water, or oil and I guess it would be balsamic vinegar. Yeah, balsamic vinegar.
I think that's how they make monostat. Is oil and vinegar and cranberry.
I think is exactly how they make it. So so basically, Carson Daly is just olive oil.
Well, you know what?
Like
with
the cartoon.
With the perspective that I have now, I can give you a very, very honest and thorough answer to that question.
Please do.
When I first started working with Carson, I was 18 years old and definitely still a teenager. And I believe that Carson was, I think, almost like a decade older than me. And like, you know, and he was about, I think, in his late 20s. And so that's
acted like he was in his 40s.
Well, I mean, but you know, he was a more mature young adult, to say the least. And so I at that point, I definitely, there was no shared experience there where we could really relate to each other in a way that it's like at 19, I couldn't really relate to if I was working with a 12-year-old, you know what I mean? Like we'd be kind of on different pages. And then the thing is that and again, I'm not even putting myself in the realm of what this guy did, but I already at 18 and 19 did have like a bit of a Andy Kaufman sensibility where I really did enjoy trying to see as far, trying to get away with as much as I possibly could without getting in any serious trouble, if you will. I would always try to skirt that line. You know what I mean? Always
until Great America. Until Great America.
Sounds like you're working for the prosecutors.
Hold on.
My character is not that of a spitter. Because spitting on someone willfully is a totally different type of
I want to close the book on Carson because I opened up the damn can of worms.
What I want to say is that I really did get good vibes from Carson, and that I think in Carson's own way, I think both of us made attempts to be kind to each other, and that there was a respect there, but it's the level of, you know, like, okay, I'm playing kind of, and I don't want to say, I'm more filling the role of, you know, of the bratty. I'm the Danny Bonaducci in this, and he's the David Cassidy, even though I looked more like David Cassidy and he physically looked more like Danny Bonaducci, if you will. I would like to think I'm the David Cassidy, but he's also handsome in his own way too. What I'm getting at is that that basically I was the youngest, Carson was the middle, and then Kurt Loder was like the dad of the whole kit and caboodle. And you know, it was a really cool scene there. Bill Bellamy was just finishing up. Matt Pinfield was there. Serena Alchul was doing the news. Kurt Loder was there. John Norris. And Ryan, I'm not trying to be like, oh, look, but if you're ever, we talk about this off air, but I cannot again praise In the Trenches. It's the dopest. Honestly, I love Dean Del Rey, and I love Mark Maron, but honestly, just like the interviewing on In the Trenches alone is like, you're really like, it's like Howard Stern and you, I mean that, and David Letterman. Hey. It's like that.
Thank you very much, Jesse Camp. I do know, as you know,
you're a fantastic interviewer.
On tonight, and especially on this episode, we do not fear from going off on tangents, which we have gone on a few tangents. But I respect you for Carson Daly giving an honest opinion about Carson Daly.
Yes.
I never met the man. I don't argue with success. He's done very successful, but I feel that what you brought to the MTV palette was definitely necessary and definitely a more, like you, in your words, an Andy Kaufman type approach, which I think benefited and I always championed for because it was the spirit of rock and roll. But let's move on to the fact that you and the record deal and the VJ whole extravaganza experience is all happening about the same time. You put out this album, eventually released
on Hollywood Records, which
on
was
Hollywood Records. There it is
this
again.
Is how Rob Cavallo comes into the picture as the producer of the album. Is that basically we wrote the team that there
Who's
you
that?
go. That's Rob Cavallo, who is the son of Bob Cavallo, who was the chairman of Warner Brother Records and also Prince's original manager. And then Rob, his son, is a fantastic producer, and he did, of course, all of Green Day's pretty much most of their catalog. Starting with Dookie, he did all the Goo Goo Dolls albums, which I will say this: I think Johnny Resnick is kind of underrated. He's a pretty good songwriter. He did the Muffs.
But nothing to do with the Ice Cream Cake Carvello family. Nothing to do with that.
No, Carvel, which, yes, you're right. That was, a lot of people don't know this. Ryan and I are going to say it. Mr. Softy and Carvel Ice Cream Cakes, both owned and operated by the mob. So I think
if your album would have been actually produced by Rob Carvel, that would have been a completely different sounding album, but a very tasty album.
Oh my God. I think there's an ice cream cake called like Snagglepuss or something. Or like, I don't know. But I mean, like, I tell you what, forget mushrooms, forget microdosing, forget mescaline. Like, honestly, like you take an ice cream cake into the studio, everyone from the engineer to whoever's doing drum loops, even if Josh Freese is on the session, people are going to go nutty. Ice cream cake does it every time. In fact, word on the street is that although we know Alice is an amazing beacon of sobriety without being pushy about it, he's just, it's part of his beauty. But all the band did indulge on ice cream cake for the making of The Road, which again,
that is a true fact.
Hey, there you go, man. That's that was back in the Hollywood Vampires. I mean, again, it was a lot of people don't know, but like I'm way in the back behind Glenn Sobel, but I do have backgrounds for the Hollywood Vampires.
All right. I'm eventually moving on to this amazingly controversial story. I see right now that we are going to have a part 2 to bring you on just to catch up with what you're doing currently, because I am eventually going to get to this story about how this controversial story about how you ended up after releasing the album. We
went on tour
with Alice Cooper. Yes, right. We go on tour together. We end up again
in the fall of 1999.
In the fall of 1999, again, all East Coast folks. Jesse and I's relationship doesn't take a West Coast twist until the late the 2000s, until I'm back in the band and we end up on a crazy tour bus sorted all-nighter Thanksgiving extravaganza, which would be that night. Look at that night. That was playing with an amazing band. There's Brent Muscat right there, and I think who else is in that photo right there? There's Chad Cherry. I love that shot, Vic, but it has nothing to do with the story that I'm trying to tell, and I'm trying to stay focused. So thank you, Vic, for putting up these other photos that keep us so completely discombobulated all over the place. But folks, if you are listening to us on an audio broadcast, it means you do have to come here and watch us on our video just to follow along, folks. And we appreciate everyone that's been hanging out here in the trenches, in the chat the whole entire time, because we are here with American hero, American legend, Mr. Wilford Brimley. No, it's Mr. Jesse Camp. And we would like to talk about this controversial story that happened at, I believe it's a Marriott's Great America or some sort of Great America on the East Coast. We played in an amusement park. We played on stage together.
An amusement park, Ryan. Here's why this story is so utterly like you couldn't even. Truth is always stranger than fiction. This took place at a water park, at a Six Flags Great Adventure, a Great American Adventure water
Getting
park.
Wet with liquid is part of the experience.
Yes! A woman
I see your angle. I see your angle now.
Booking agent Johnny Padell and also the amusement park, Six Flags, Great American Adventure. All three of those entities got sued by a woman who went to see Alice Cooper, had the misfortune of having Jesse and the Ace Three Kids as the opening act, and then she was up close to the stage while we were performing, and supposedly spit came out of my mouth, or I think she thinks I spit, and it landed on her, and then she I don't even know the damages that she sued for, but so
millions. It was millions. You know, and if you're watching right now, you know,
you make it sound like I was like I shot some jizz, you know, and it was like I spermed in her face.
There's no amount of bodily fluid. There's no amount of bodily fluids. There's no amount. Even Peter North would agree. If you brought him in as a specialist, there's no amount of bodily liquids that could actually project that far. And again, I'm using Peter North as a character witness for you. Do you have a picture of Peter North, Vic? Our producer Vic does not. Okay.
Imagine if Johnny Cochran was there. He would like spit from the exact thing, and if like, you know, if you can't get hit by spit, you must have quit.
So this whole thing happened because you're being a lead singer.
Spit to come out of my mouth and land on this woman from where it was proved the distance between us was, thus proving that this was a frivolous lawsuit if ever there was one, you know. And I'm here's the thing.
Was it ever settled?
I'm not trying to vindicate myself. I still to this day feel an immense amount of shame and guilt that I ended up getting, my hero and his amazing band, and then the amusement park and the booking agent and everyone, you know, in a legal being sued, because of something that
every singer does naturally. Because honestly, folks, the view that I have on the side of the stage, from my stage right microphone, when I see Alice move to the stage right or move right in front of me, and I get to see a silhouette, I'm going to be honest with you. Singers project saliva when they sing. It's part of the act of singing. That's what happens. And this is what happened, I feel, in this story. Again, I'm not going to go on as your character witness. I'm going to leave that to Peter North for more of the, scientific part of like the, how far a certain bodily fluid can sort of project. But again, I feel that you were wrongly accused, unlike, whoever Johnny Cochran sort of defended.
Okay.
Oh, that's not part of your name. I was going to actually introduce you when I first was going to introduce you, Jesse. I was going to say
OJ Crimson and Clover.
I was going to introduce you as, because Federica, who is our social media goddess, who has been helping out with the scripts as well. I was going to introduce you as Joshua Jesse Holden Orenthal Camp. But I didn't say Orenthal, so there you go. So there's a whole name was.
Orenthal, yes.
Orenthal.
But I think you were getting my legal name is Josiah Holden Camp, the third.
The third.
Yes.
I thought here I have the fourth. I have the Roman numeral 4. I have a one slash with a V, which would make a Roman numeral 4. Are you sure you're not a fourth, or are you a third?
I think on Wikipedia it has me as a fourth, which is it. Honestly, if I was a fourth, that would mean that I'm Stairway to Heaven. I'm Black Dog. I'm going to California. I'm When the Levee Breaks. But quite honestly, I do feel I'm an immigrant. I'm a
immigrant.
The immigrant song. I wasn't gonna come to the land of the ice and snow with a hammer of the gods. Okay.
You're Jesse Camp the third. I like it.
The third, Friends, Celebration Day. That's the way. I'm very Led Zeppelin 3, but I wouldn't mind being. It's been a long time since I rock and rolled. 4.
Now, how many other bands had?
Oh, wait a minute,
3 records?
Ryan. I can't believe we're not talking about this. You and I actually were in a couple of bands together. How did we completely gloss over that?
Are you talking about Goon Squad? What are you talking about?
No,
What
I'm
bands were
talking
we
about
in?
the first band you and I had together, Dad's Porno Hub. You remember that?
Now there you go. There's some trickery. There's some definitely trickery that has come up. And you can, and again, if you're only listening to us on the audio broadcast, you have to go to our YouTube official channel and watch it, the video,
It's
because
a really awesome album cover. Can we see that again? Maybe Victor, is that? Oh, look at that.
So wait a second. You're telling me that you agreed to come on our podcast. Let me say something, Jesse. You've agreed to come on our podcast merely a week and a half ago, and you were able to do this amazing sort of Photoshop editing. Yet you have interviews with. You have interviews that with these amazing stars that have taken how many years now? You said you did it in the mid 2000s that are still getting edited.
No. Those were only like 2016 or so. But that's also
so it's only 6 years.
I just, honestly, I keep collecting projects like Aaron Spelling's wife, Candy Spelling, acquires men now that she's free to mingle. No, that needs to get edited. But I have cool things happening now too. The show Freak City, but we'll talk about that another time.
We're gonna have to, Jesse. We're gonna have to actually do another episode.
Really quickly,
we have to.
Dad's Porno. I mean, okay. Look, if you don't want to delve into this, I'll just clip note it.
You want to do Dad's Porno Hub? Do you really want to go there? Do you want to go on our history?
Dad's Porno Hub, we played like Japan. We opened up for Queensryche on the Operation Mindcrime 2 tour. I mean, that was a successful cycle, Dad's Porno Hub. I think that you tried to have another Dad's Porno band with a Kelly guy later on, but you and I then worked again. The next time we worked together was in Jesse's Snake Pit. Victor, do you have that album cover? Look at
that. There is so much trickery going on between our producer Vic Chalfont and Jesse Camp right now.
What?
Folks,
you don't remember making the Jesse Snake Pit album?
You know what? It's vague because I'll be honest with you. Those times for me were probably like the times of your VJ, circus carousel, if you will.
You were spread so thin that you didn't even know you were making those albums.
Cirque du Soleil, boy. That was amazing.
We did make a trilogy together. You and I made a trilogy. The first album we made was Dad's Porno Hub. And then we did the Jesse Snake Pit album. And then I believe this is the final album you and I worked on together in a band.
Capablanca?
Capablanca, yeah. We did that in Sweden. It was you and me. And then the rest of the band were all Swedish people.
Yes, they were. And very, very nice.
We had a huge hit off that album called Uptown. Meet me tonight, we're going uptown.
It wasn't actually uptown, it was downtown. What? But hold on, go back to that album cover of the Capablanca. The Capablanca, there was just, I remember there being a distinct discrepancy amongst the MP being a different font. I don't know why that they chose
thought it would look edgy.
Frontier font instead of the standard font that we had already paid for.
We thought it would look really, just give that edge, like when
Helvetica
David Bowie
Shadow.
made his last record, his last final record, but he kind of took the Heroes album cover and revamped it.
Oh my God! All right, hold on now.
Wait,
now
but
we're getting
Ryan
comments.
also, and
don't tell me there was a fourth one.
Final thing, but I want to tell you that I just got confirmation when I promised you a humongous A-list special guest. And she is in the building. I just found out. So,
but
we'll save that to the very end. But we have a really cool person to bring out.
All right. Well, make sure she's prepped and ready, and she knows that she has to take at least one Adderall to keep up with the pace of this podcast.
To keep up on this pace.
Yes, there's no doubt about it. Oh wow, that's a very nice tuck and roll chair you have right there.
No one is going anywhere.
Maybe this would be the point where our producer would have put us full screen, but no. Okay, there you go.
I just have to get out my hemorrhoid pillow. Look,
is that from is that plastic bag from Ralph's or Albertsons? I'm not sure.
This, I don't know. It's just a generic plastic bag, but this is a product. If I could just rhyme super quick. Do you have a problem with chronic masturbating? Hey,
Yes.
don't be ashamed. It's tough not to wank on your dank. Well, anyway, I have a product that will help you with that. It's called
Aces. Is it Aces CBD rub?
It is called No Wanking Hockey Goalie Gloves. That's right. With No Wanking Goalie Gloves, listen, you're not going to be feeling your pee-pee at all with these bad boys. Anyway,
how did this all of a sudden become a Carrot Top interview? Vic, what do you have to do with this? What's going on? I mean, and I love Carrot Top. I want Carrot Top on the podcast. I think it'd be great. Have you ever met Carrot Top?
Yeah, fuck yeah. I mean, like again, I'm not really a nose candy connoisseur, but I mean, if you're going to be in Vegas, you got to blow rails with Vince Neil, Carrot Top, and Nick Cage. And you got to cross your fingers that Chris Angel will come over. No, I'm joking. I know
half joking.
Yeah. I know, Ryan, I don't. I have met Chris Angel, but
not Carrot Top, huh? He keeps to himself, Yeah. I mean, the gingers kind of do. They kind of keep to themselves. I know that there's.
Wait, the gingers this is just one thing that's gonna. Oh yeah, okay, we got.
I know him and Axel have never been seen in the same room together.
Wait,
that's coincidental. Carrot Top and Axl Rose have never been seen, never been photographed in the same room together. Just so you know.
This. Hold on, we got
more conspiracy.
Wait, we are perfect. I know it seems like there was a roller
That's a good
coaster.
view. That's a perfect view for you. What happened?
No. Okay, we're back. I'm so sorry about that. Okay.
What happened?
Now, get this. Okay, we are really back. And okay.
Carrot Top, we love you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Carrot Top.
Axel, not so much.
on Carrot Top. I mean, he, like Joe Piscopo, pulled off a really weird maneuver of being a comedian who then is known primarily as a thin, regular-bodied comedian who then goes and becomes an extreme bodybuilder. I really think it's just him and Joe Piscopo that have ever done that.
That's true. You know what? Piscopo is one of the sort of underrated comedian turned bodybuilders around.
Yes.
I think Carrot Top gets more credit for that. But would you say that Piscopo is the East Coast Carrot Top?
Ooh. That's a fantastic question, although it's loaded like a son of Baconator at Wendy's. Hey, is the Baconator a little too much for you? Or maybe you're Muslim and don't want bacon in your burger. Well,
I'm just trying to think of as many redhead people as possible so I can lump them all together, and that's who they hang out with.
But I heard from another Ryan. We really do have so many mutual people. Billy Rowe of Rock and Roll Relics and Jet Boy,
who has made the new guitar.
I don't know where he got this information, but he told me that Axl Rose's favorite fast food is Arby's, and that's from Billy Rowe.
I would imagine it would have been Wendy's because Wendy's a ginger.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would have thought that, but there I'm wrong,
Very true. But I mean, I definitely, one guy, I briefly met Axl. I honest to God, I'm a huge fan of Axl. I really have a lot of respect. I don't know if this has been talked about on In the Trenches, but the two new Guns N' Roses studio tracks that got released, Absurd, I think, was one, and then Hard School that got put out this summer.
We have not talked about either of those tracks. What do you think about it?
I think they're pretty good. I mean, but I actually really love Chinese Democracy. I think there's it's epic. So I'm a little biased, but I dig them. Absurd is a little, but the Hard School is rocking. It's good.
Chinese Democracy, I didn't like the first time I heard it, but after listening to it and learning it for about 125 times, I ended up appreciating it. So
Why'd
that's a
you
whole
learn it
nother
that many
story.
times?
Oh, that's a whole nother story, isn't it?
Oh,
That's a whole nother story that we can get into some other time.
that is, listen, that you have to be a Patreon. You have to pay the premier membership to even get a glimpse at what I think you're alluding to there.
There you go. Am I using my alluding, or am I?
No, not at all.
You're going to Patreon. You got to use your alluding. Use your alluding.
Yes.
How about that?
Absolutely. And if you're going to loot, then I say, honestly, like if you want to invest in a currency.
Why all of a sudden do you have Michael DeBar internet? Vic, does he have Michael DeBar internet? Give me a thumbs up if he does. Yeah, he does. So apparently,
wait, there is something funky was happening. I think we're good again. Oh yeah, no Michael DeBar internet whatsoever, because that's code for jam.
It's only
and
good
quite
for
honestly,
jogging.
it's like, yeah, if like Dennis DeYoung has, how about this? Are we good now?
We're good, and we love Dennis DeYoung. Do not say a disparaging thing about Dennis DeYoung. In fact,
no,
I thought of Dennis DeYoung the same way I currently think of Carson Daly. But if I was to talk to Carson Daly, I might think of Carson Daly the way I now think of Dennis DeYoung, which is nothing but admiration and respect.
Yes, a very deep respect. Absolutely. I think that Dennis DeYoung, it's not easy being the man behind Kilroy Was Here. And so I think that maybe James Young and Tommy Shaw may have a little bit of resentment to him to this day. But I really think at the situation, I'm glad we're talking on this, that what the situation with Styx is that it's just honestly that they grew apart from each other, that, and it was like, it was a marriage that didn't end great, but now both are thriving in their new relationships, being that the predominantly Tommy Shaw led Styx, of course, James Young, a big part of that. And I believe the guy who plays keyboards and sings, he's from Canada, Gowan, I think is his last name. I love the current Styx lineup, but
here's the thing.
I'm always curious to hear what Dennis DeYoung is making too.
But here's the thing. The current lead singer of Styx has been in the band for over 21 years. So it's hard to say it's current right now. So I get the fact that there are two different entities, but at the same time, the facts remain. And I will say this, as much as I adore hot damn Tommy Shaw, and I'm a fan of the
mustache
James Young. Yes, he would give you a little bit of a run for your money with that Miss America, James Young, James Young. So anyway, those
that
two.
he also made an album, and I know this sounds like one of my BS stories, but he made a full album with Jan Hammer in 1985.
I thought that was Hammer.
It was Neil Sean did
Sean
that,
and Hammer.
but then also James Young, I swear to God, made an album with Jan Hammer as well.
There you go. You know what? I won't dispute that fact. But at the end of the day, Dennis DeYoung has become a soulmate of mine, because I didn't know what to think before we did that interview on In the Trenches. And if you are listening to us and following us on multiple Adderalls at this point, I appreciate you for following along this nice trail of breadcrumbs we've been leaving all podcasts long. But all these episodes, all these references that we are alluding to can be seen on the Ryan Roxie official channel, because there are podcast episodes that have all the names mentioned that Jesse has mentioned, as well as Dennis DeYoung, who I'm talking about right now. And like I said, the respect that I gained for Dennis DeYoung on that podcast was immense. And like I say, I will wait and reserve judgment until I actually do interview Tommy Shaw and James Young and get their side of the story. Because as we all know,
Brian, are we allowed to announce Double D, the project that you created and produced? Okay, I've already mentioned it. So
what project are we talking about, Double D? I have no idea.
Ryan Roxie got these two Dennises together and produced a full-length album of them. Dennis Dunaway and Dennis DeYoung together.
That would be amazing. Oh my gosh.
Desperado. It's
Dennis DeYoung wait, hold on. Dennis DeYoung and Dennis Dunaway. That would be D, quadruple D. If you think about it.
That's 2 double D's. Double D.
Or you could just go da.
I mean, I know if you go to Victoria's Secret, you can get bigger, but most bra sizes only go up to double D. So it's a little sexual, but it's like Daredevil, 2 D's sound good. Dennis Dunaway, Dennis DeYoung. And then to have the album produced by Ryan Roxie, I want to hear that.
Oh yeah. Da. Produced by RR. Sort of executive produced by JC.
But listen, I'll give myself a J last name to fit in,
You have the same initials as Jesus Christ. Is that by design?
And my middle name is Holden, so when people say Jesus H. Christ, I think that Jesus' middle name is Holy.
You've thought of that before? Have you thought of that before? Has that ever been mentioned? Not on a podcast.
That was something that I do the mentioning of, which is the sad thing. People that I bring it up again. Any way to make people associate Jesus Christ with me, I'm cool with that.
Well, here's the deal. The
Question
reason why
though, Jesus was just all right with me by the Doobie Brothers. What are they saying there? Is it like, yeah, Jesus is okay. He's all right. Like maybe I own Jesus' greatest hits. I'm not going to pay to see Jesus in concert, but if he's on the radio, I'm not turning him off. Or is it like, man, Jesus is all right with me. He's just all right, I mean, he's a bad cat. I walk with Jesus. What are they saying?
The reason I'm fidgeting, hold on, folks. The reason I'm fidgeting is because I have to pee. And that is really the truth. All right.
Take a pee break.
No, we're gonna get Vic on camera with you for 1 second to talk real quick while I take a real quick pee.
I need to go pee too.
No, hold on. I'll go pee, and then you can go pee, and then we can wrap it all up. Everybody that's watching, thank you very much. But ladies and gentlemen, Jesse Camp, JHC,
and don't forget we have a very special guest to bring on too.
I know we have one more special guest before we go, but I'm going to go pee right now. You guys take it away.
I was worried you weren't going to get to those albums. I thought you'd forgotten about it.
Oh, I mean, tell me if I'm crazy. Was Ryan almost acting like that those projects didn't happen?
It seemed like he didn't remember.
Yeah.
He had some issues back then, I think.
I've noticed, I never wanted to say this out loud, but it would be like me and Ryan would do a project together, and then it's almost like he would then go and duplicate it with someone else. Like Dad's Porno Hub, he did a follow-up band, Dad's Porno Mag.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really excited about the second one. The version that you guys did was amazing.
Yes. I mean, we
really
did Get Out of My Dreams, Get Into My Car before Billy Ocean.
Right. It was a hot song.
Oh yeah.
Where did that hit on the chart? That had to be on Casey Kasem, right?
Yeah, I think we did American Bandstand for that. Yeah.
Okay.
But Victor, for guys that don't know at home, Victor is an integral part of In the Trenches. He's the producer, and so we honestly, like Ryan doesn't come in until the last minute, but you do a lot of prep work with Victor, and he's amazing.
Roxie is nothing without me. He knows that this show is nothing without me. Oh, wait, here he is.
I heard every single word. Oh my God. I feel like I've just been baptized.
It takes two to make a thing go right. Victor and Ryan. Boom.
It's great to be back.
This show is out of sight.
It's great to be back on In the Trenches and in our normal studio setup, and we have Vic producing from his home as well. We did a few episodes
from Arkansas, home of Tony Alamo.
There you go.
Wow. Hey, we can't forget about the fan of the week, Roxie.
Okay, you know what? Let's do fan of the week right now.
Fantastic, guys! This week's fan of the week is Jan Davenport from Waikiki, Hawaii. Here is a picture of her and Shep Gordon hanging out. That's very cool. You have
Wait a second. Hold on.
Bionic.
He's going off script.
Playlist.
He is going off script.
Okay. Wait,
how do you go off script when you don't have a script?
Guys, do we have the correct fan of the week?
Yes, we do, Jesse. Thank you very much.
What's
And
up?
our fan of the week this week is Mr. Shane Malcolm. There you go, Shane. Thank you very much. He's been supporting our whole tour that we were on just recently with Alice Cooper. Ace Frehley came out to a few shows. It was great to see him. Shane, you are our fan of the week. And if anybody else that's in the chat, in the trenches, and you're watching this, whether it's you're watching it live, you're watching it on delay, you know how much we appreciate your support. Make sure you tell your friends about it, and then you too can become the next in the trenches fan of the week. We are here with American hero Jesse Camp and our producer Vic Chalfant. I just took a pee. I have no idea how Joe Rogan does it. I have no idea how he does these long interviews. Dude, he must have some sort of bucket or something underneath him, because how do you go on for over 2 hours and do a podcast without taking a pee break? Do you need to take a pee break there, Jesse?
Oh man, yeah, no, I just go. I wear an adult diaper.
Dude,
I think that's what Rogan does too.
Yeah, no shame in that. I mean, like and I'll just tell you, I know they're not a sponsor, but I wear the adult diaper. You can depends on.
One and done. That's your other sponsor. You don't want to get your sponsors mixed up.
But it depends. Adult diaper is not one and done, because you can actually do multiple ones and twos, several before the adult diaper is done, if it says depends on it.
Could you do that though? If you actually wore an adult diaper just for fun, could you actually do number
Who's
2
wearing
in it?
that just for fun?
I could do number 1, I believe, but I just don't feel I can naturally take a number 2, even if I was in the full safety and comfort of an adult diaper. I don't know if I could do it.
Ryan, I think that the majority of people that wear adult diapers are not trying to catch the hard stools, if you will. They're trying to catch the soft stool, because a hard stool, if you're pooping a hard stool, like a rock type stool, it could rip some areas in the derriere. But honestly, it's the liquidy stool that the adults diapers are there to catch.
Vic, please do not put a picture of this. Yeah, do not put a picture of any of this stuff up that we're talking about right now. I know I ask you a lot of time for photos. No, none of that. And we have run a gamut of subjects today. We have had so many different types of subjects. I know that
we
Vic
have
needs
to go
have
over
a pee
the
break.
2-hour mark, because I cannot be a 90-minute guy. Like that's pathetic.
It's gonna already be 2 hours. Plus, you're gonna have a part 2. You've become the new fan favorite. I mean, I really think that you're right up there with the Michael Monroes, the Can't Hear You Bros, Michael DeBar. The Night Bob fan. Night Bob.
Well, I'm gonna outdo them all, Ryan. I want to be the #1 best ever guest, and I'm gonna be shameless in how I do it. Would you like to meet a Grammy Award-winning singer? Her most was it Norman Rockwell? Was her latest album? Ladies and gentlemen, Lana Del Rey.
Hello, Lana Del Rey. Is it Lana Del Rey? Hello, nice to see you
guys.
What's going on? Were you the talking soundboard when you first came on?
Been.
You might have.
Yeah,
been.
she was hanging in here earlier, but yeah, Lana's honestly, Lana's been cool enough to sing a song on the record.
Tell us what it's like to actually tell us what it's like, not only just to work, but to actually sit next to and take in the sights and the smells of Jesse Camp.
He's amazing. You guys know that. You can see for yourself. He's the one and only Jesse Camp.
There you go. So on this album, how many songs are you guesting on this double record? Is it just one track, or is it?
No, we had to do double. We had to go back to back. So I'm on a bunch of them.
Lana was originally just going to sing on this. It's a cover of a Jon Stewart song. Not Jon Stewart, the amazing Daily Show host.
The problem with Jon Stewart, he says it's more of a current show.
Well, yeah, it's an Apple TV show. But and by the way, Apple TV, why are you not exclusively making a deal with In the Trenches? Come on, it's a no-brainer. But
I agree.
But Ryan is cool. He wants everyone to see it. But guys, get on the YouTube channel. Lana, I'm sorry for doing that. But Lana sings on a song called Hollywood Dreams, which is a cover of Jon Stewart, who did the People Out There Turning Music into Gold. It's a cover of one of his songs. But she killed it on that, and she was honestly really into the vibe. And so
what's it like to work with Stefan as well as Jesse? How about Stefan?
Oh, Stefan's amazing. We love him so much. He's our like mascot at the moment.
Okay, so far you've had one word to describe two people. You've said Jesse Camp and Stefan, amazing.
Yeah, they're both amazing and lovely, but like Stefan's more like our.
Anna, you got to get in a little more.
He's like our mascot. He's done so much for us. You know, he's like our cheerleader.
We have
Stefan
to keep it. Yeah, we do have to keep the podcast rated PG over here. So not so much thigh. If you know what I mean.
Not so much thigh. Oh, there. I mean,
cleavage.
This is the pervert trench coat, so.
Yeah,
much better now.
It's a great trench coat. Is that one of Jesse's sort of accoutrements, or is that all yours?
It's all mine.
Ryan, the show should be called In the Trench Coats.
It should be.
From the trenches, in the trenches to the trench coats.
Why did our viewing numbers completely just spike and skyrocket the minute Lana came on the screen? Why did that happen?
Because honestly, she has.
Because YouTube is all.
I have witch powers. You know, that's why I sing that song. Must be the season of the witch. Yeah.
What a great song. Who's the original artist of that? Because I just heard it recently.
Jesse knows.
Yeah.
I think it was the Zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
No,
it's not. It's not. I believe it's Donovan.
It is Donovan. No, it is Donovan.
Oh, wow.
It is Donovan. The Zombies is
they covered it.
Oh, like is your daddy rich like me? I think. What is that song? Has he taken his time to show you what I feel? Taking a banana. It's a time of the season. Hey, there you go. But it must be the season of the witch. Is Donovan.
Okay.
Which is fucking weird because Donovan Leitch is also on this album.
And another thing, which is actually quite weird, Jesse, want to know something else weird? Donovan sang the speaking voice in $1 Billion Babies. There you go. So it all comes full circle.
In the attic while the moon is rising in the sky. If I'm too rough, tell me. I'm so scared your little head will come off in my hands.
AKA Lana, are you a Alice Cooper fan?
Of course. Why wouldn't I be?
All right. Well, what do you think about Alice Cooper?
Well,
amazing.
My mom likes him a lot.
All right.
My mom used to listen to that a lot. So,
Ryan, can I ask you something? I'm not interrupting, but on the subject, one thing I've always wanted to ask you is: have you listened to Flush the Fashion, Special Forces, Zipper Catch Your Skin, and Dada?
I have listened to all those albums at least once. The album that of all those that I like most, or at least I think we should do a song off is Zipper Catches Skin. There's a song called there's a one called Girls, and there's another song off of that album called oh man, now someone's going to call me.
I am the fox. I'll do what you want.
No.
Zorro, make that money. Make that money, huh? That bloody.
Please help me in the chat of what's the song that I want. When
I was a boy, I never played with toys.
If I just had the discography.
Oh, I know what song. I Am the Future.
No, that's not it either. How do you know all these songs from Zipper Catches Skin? That's amazing that you do.
Right? I'm so die hard. Like basically the first two albums I ever owned was Kiss Crazy Nights and
well, let me tell you which one it is. I just remembered. Better Be Good.
You Better Be Good. Is that off of Special Forces? Or
no, that's off Zipper Catches Skin. Zipper Catches Skin. I Better Be Good. That's the one I want to do. So there you go. That's my little Easter egg nugget that I put in, and I'm dropping it in hopefully to the set list for 2022. What do you say?
That would blow people's minds if you did one song off Zipper Catches Skin. People would freak.
Well,
the diehards would freak.
I know that Lana's mom would. That's all that you know.
She would. She loves it.
They're perfect. I love it. We loved having you guys on as special guests at the very end, but we are going to have to close things up because it's one thing that's happened. We've gone over the 2-hour mark, and which you've established that record. You've already become a fan favorite of In the Trenches, and you've already secured a part 2 for Jesse Camp. And apparently, we are bringing all the stars that came on today's podcast with Lana. You got the Junkyard Dog. You got the cokehead Theodore or Alvin. I'm not sure which one is. There's Alvin who's got an Adderall problem. The only person missing is the Rick Browdy's cousin, producer cousin.
Oh yes, the
Where's
Casey
Stefan?
Affleck looking producer, Stefan Larakis.
Where'd he go?
Stefan! Hey, we need you really quickly.
That's a good version of Stefan. Folks, we are going to catch up on all the stuff that's happening with Jesse Camp currently, probably sooner than you think, because you know what? The way to catch more information right now, besides listening and re-listening to this podcast, is go to Jesse Camp's Instagram, which is @TheRealJesseCamp. There you go.
That's right.
There's Stefan right there. Your hat's getting in his way, of course. Your sombrero, if you will. There it is. Thank you, everyone, for being part of today's Friday live stream edition of In the Trenches. We're going to have you on again, and I don't know what cast of characters you'd like to bring on next time, but Lana, Stefan, Alvin, Chipmunk, maybe not the Junkyard Dog. You're all invited to come back on part 2. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
That is the honor of honors.
The honor of all honors.
I love it. And you know what? Vic Chalfant, get on here anyway, because it's a different type of show. It's been a different type of episode. Everyone say hello to Arkansas right there.
Hello, Arkansas. I'm glad that you guys have finally made it illegal to marry your first cousin. That is very progressive of y'all.
We just got that passed, and I'm really excited about it.
That's so not true. You guys are spreading.
You know what
blasphemous
else?
lies.
They just outlawed stoning as capital punishment. Very cool, Arkansas.
Somehow Arkansas became the Middle East. I love it. Well, anyway, we've had an amazing time here on In the Trenches with our guest, Jesse Camp. There will be a part 2. Everybody that's hung in with us.
Coming back next time.
Who
Yeah,
is?
Lana has another new project called Future of Horrors.
Yeah.
And that's
of horror, like horror movies.
Yeah, of course.
And we're going to
All right.
play a song called Funny Games for you.
Guess
Yo,
what? You know what it's
Lana-
going to be? It's going
Lana
to be.
is very prolific.
It's going to be amazing. That's in
It's
a word.
gonna be
I'm going to say
hot.
it's going to be amazing. All right.
So hot.
But also, Ryan, if I can, we'll talk after. But we
This
gotta
is
get
called the
Kurt
long
Loder.
goodbye. This is
gotta
the
get Kurt
longest
Loder on
podcast
here.
goodbye of
Ever.
all time. What did you say, Jesse?
We got to get Kurt Loder as a guest.
You know what? Let's get Kurt Loder. I do want to get. Let's get Adam Curry. Let's bring on.
Why not?
You know
Kari
what?
War.
Martha Quinn. You know, let's get.
Yeah.
Who was my favorite?
Kari
who was
War.
Kari
Oh, from
War.
a remote
You
control.
Did you ever meet Kari Word? Do you have another story? Is
Are
that
you
Kari
kidding?
Word
That-
sitting
well-
next to you?
She is an illustrious babe. I don't even know if I've ever before or aftered her on the internet because I don't want to know. I mean, I know she was so beautiful. She was like the Kelly Kapowski before Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
When you come on for part 2, we will make it a Kari Word special sort of episode. We'll do an expose on Kari Word, and everybody will come on. The same guys, the same girls. Everybody will be the same. Hopefully, we'll have everybody in the chat. You're still with us. We love you all. It's been a very interesting and emotional and exuberant In the Trenches. Jesse Camp, hang on for a while we say, till next time, folks, enjoy the ride. See ya.
In the Trenches with
We're
Ryan
not going
Roxie.
anywhere. Okay, there we go.
Boom.